Have you ever noticed that the tiredness weighing you down doesn't really come from a lack of sleep? You rest 8 hours, maybe even more, yet you wake up already exhausted. Not in your body, but in your mind. It's the invisible weight you carry into every conversation, every interaction, every thought replayed 100 times in your head. You wonder, did I say too much? Did they like me? Are they judging me right now? These questions follow you like shadows. And before you even realize it, you're more drained by imagined judgments than by actual work. This kind of fatigue is not physical. It's a prison of the mind. And most people are serving life sentences without ever realizing the bars were built by their own thoughts. Somewhere along the way, the need to be understood, liked, and validated became chains. The more we try to adjust, explain, or prove ourselves, the heavier those chains feel. You try to fix the discomfort by pleasing others. And yet the result is only deeper exhaustion. But here is a radical shift. What if the problem was never out there at all? What if the real storm was not in your life, but in your mind, and the only reason it keeps raging is because you continue to feed it? Imagine for a moment. The stress isn't really your job, your family, or your friends' opinions. It's the constant storm of thoughts demanding that life should always treat you gently. That people should always respond the way you want. That the world should always align with your expectations. When those demands are not met, and they rarely are, the mind declares war. Not on them, but on yourself. Buddhist wisdom offers a doorway out of this storm. But it's not the doorway most people expect. It doesn't ask you to control the world or fix every misunderstanding. It doesn't even ask you to silence your emotions. It invites you into something far more radical, a shift in identity. You are not the storm. You are not the swirling thoughts, judgments, and anxieties that rise and fall like weather. You are the sky, the vast, steady awareness that holds everything without being broken by it. Think about it this way: clouds gather, thunder rolls, rain lashes against the earth. The sky doesn't panic. It doesn't try to push the storm away or chase after the sun. It simply remains, open and untouched. And when the storm passes, as storms always do, the sky is still there. Clear and whole. The Buddha taught that the same is true for us. Thoughts come and go. Fear comes and goes. Even pain comes and goes. None of these passing states are who you truly are. They are visitors. You are the space in which they appear and disappear. This insight might sound simple, but it's one of the most transformative truths you can ever discover. Because the moment you stop identifying with every passing thought, you stop giving them power. Anxiety no longer has to mean, I am anxious. Instead, it becomes, anxiety is present. See the difference? One collapses your identity into a fleeting emotion. The other acknowledges the experience without being consumed by it. Now, imagine how differently you could live if you carried this awareness into your daily life. Imagine facing criticism without spiraling, silence without inventing rejection stories, challenges without feeling personally diminished. When you live as the sky instead of the storm, peace is no longer a distant reward, it's your natural state returning. And here's the best part. You don't need decades of meditation to touch this truth. All it takes is one pause, one mindful breath, one shift in perspective. That pause is the doorway where suffering ends and clarity begins. So stay with me. In the next moments, we'll walk through timeless Buddhist insights, practical, human, and immediately usable. That will show you how to step out of the storm and into the vast, steady sky of your own awareness. Because once you see who you really are, your life doesn't just get quieter, it becomes free. Lesson 1: The reaction trap. The pause that saves you. If you've ever caught yourself spiraling after something small, a friend not replying to your message, a colleague giving you a quick glance that felt off, you already know what the reaction trap feels like. It's not the silence of the phone or the glance itself that exhausts you. It's the instant your mind rushes in, fills the gap with a story, and convinces you it must be true. Suddenly you're not just waiting for a reply. You're reliving old wounds of rejection, imagining hidden judgments, carrying the weight of conversations that never even happened. This is what the Buddha meant when he compared the mind to water. When calm, it reflects reality as it is. When disturbed, it distorts everything, making neutral events appear threatening. Neuroscience now confirms what Buddhist psychology has been teaching for over 2,000 years, between stimulus and response. There is a space. If you miss that space, You are dragged around by every fleeting impression. But if you can expand it, even by a single breath, you step out of the trap. Think about the chain of events. A stimulus appears. Your message is left on read. Instantly, the body reacts. A quickening of the pulse. A tight chest. Then the mind adds its layer. They must be upset with me. If you don't notice this moment, the story runs unchecked, leading to defensive replies, over-explaining, or sulking. What mindfulness, sati, teaches is not to suppress the emotion, but to pause long enough to see the story as a story. Here's the practical experiment. Next time irritation or anxiety rises, don't rush to fix it. Instead, stop, breathe 3 times, and ask yourself, what belief of mine is being threatened right now? You may find it's not really about the text at all. It's about an old belief that says, I must always be liked, or I can't afford to be misunderstood. These beliefs are like invisible laws written by the ego long ago. The moment you see them, they lose their absolute power. And this is where the shift happens. You stop asking, why are they treating me this way? And begin asking, what expectation inside me just got exposed? That's a researcher's question. That's the Buddhist's question. And it's far more liberating. So remember, the exhaustion of modern life often comes less from external noise and more from our own unexamined reflexes. One pause, one mindful breath, is not a small thing, it's the doorway to freedom. Lesson 2: The invisible strains. We like to think of ourselves as free, as independent beings making deliberate choices. But if you slow down and observe carefully, you'll notice something unsettling. Much of what you call your choice is nothing more than conditioning. You wake up and, before your feet even touch the floor, your hand reaches for the phone. You scroll not because you chose to, but because the habit was written into your nervous system years ago. You say yes to requests when your entire body is screaming no, because somewhere deep inside you're afraid of being seen as unkind, or lazy, or selfish. This is what Buddhist philosophy calls avijja, or ignorance, not stupidity, but a lack of awareness of the strings that quietly pull our behavior. Fear of disapproval, the need to belong, the urge to prove ourselves. These are the puppet strings. They've been tugging at us since childhood, shaped by parents, teachers, culture, social media, and most of the time, we don't even see them. We just move. Take a common American scene. The person who wakes, checks email before even breathing deeply, and instantly feels behind for the day. That rush of stress isn't freedom, it's programming. Or think about the countless conversations where you explain yourself again and again. Not because the other person needs the explanation, but because you crave their approval. The string here isn't their question, it's your unspoken fear that without constant validation, you're not enough. The Buddha didn't ask us to cut ourselves off from life. He asked us to see clearly. The moment you recognize, this is not me, this is conditioning, you become the observer, not the puppet. And when you see the strains, you can decide which ones to loosen, which ones to release, and which ones no longer deserve to control you. Here's a simple but powerful practice. The next time you feel the urge to defend, explain, or overperform, pause and ask, whose approval am I chasing right now? That question alone can snap the strain. Suddenly, instead of dancing to an old script, you are writing a new one. Freedom doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's as subtle as not sending the extra text, not giving the unnecessary justification, not checking the phone before sunrise. Each small rebellion cuts one thread, and over time, those threads unravel into something rare, a life that is truly your own. Lesson 3: The art of letting go. One of the deepest illusions we carry is the belief that if we just hold on tightly enough, tight to people, to plans, to our reputation, then somehow life will finally give us the peace we crave. But the harder you grip, the more life resists. It's like trying to catch the wind with a closed fist. You only end up tired, tense, and empty. Buddhist teaching cuts straight through this. Suffering doesn't come from what we lose, it comes from the way we cling. Upadana, grasping, attachment, is the hand that squeezes even when the object was never truly ours to begin with. And the truth is, most of the weight you feel on your shoulders each day isn't from what's happening out there, but from the stories and expectations you refuse to release. Picture this. You're standing in a wide open field, holding a balloon. That balloon represents a silent demand, the demand to always be liked, to always get recognition, to always be in control. You've held it so long your hand aches. And still you think, if I let go, something terrible will happen. But here's the surprise. When you finally release it, the sky doesn't collapse. It only becomes clearer. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care wisely. You stop wasting energy on what was never in your control and redirect it toward what truly matters. This is why monks in the Buddhist tradition practice renunciation not out of coldness but out of clarity, to remind themselves that peace arises not from possession, but from presence. You don't have to start with the biggest attachments in your life. Begin small. For one day. Don't rush to answer every notification. Allow a text to wait. Resist the urge to explain your heart to someone who only hears noise. Notice the relief in that space. Each time you do, you reclaim a piece of yourself that was tangled in unnecessary obligations. So here's the practice. Choose one expectation to release each day. Maybe it's the expectation that everyone will understand you. Maybe it's the demand that your morning be flawless. Maybe it's the belief that you must always get things right the first time. Drop just one. Watch how the mind, like the open sky, doesn't collapse, it clears. True letting go isn't a loss. It's remembering that you were never meant to carry so much in the first place. The art of letting go is the art of returning home, to a mind light, unclenched, and finally free to breathe. Lesson 4: You are not the storm. This is perhaps the most liberating insight in all of Buddhist psychology. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them. For most of our lives we mistake the storm inside our heads for who we are. We say, I am anxious, I am failing, I am broken, and in those moments, our identity collapses into whatever emotion happens to be passing through. But emotions, like weather, shift constantly. The Buddha reminds us, the storm is not the sky. Thoughts are not the self. The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius said it simply, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Buddhism echoes the same truth with its teaching on anatta, non-self. Your thoughts and feelings arise. They pass. They repeat. But they are not you. They are experiences moving through awareness. Just as clouds move through an open sky. Consider how different life feels when you change just a few words. Instead of, I am anxious, try saying, anxiety is present. Instead of, I am failing, say, the mind is telling a failure story. Notice what happens. You've created space. You've stepped back into the seat of the observer. The storm may still rage, but suddenly you're not drowning in it. You're watching it from the shore. This small shift is more than semantics. It's a radical reorientation of identity. When you stop equating your being with every thought, you stop feeding the storm. The waves lose their force because you're no longer adding energy by believing them. This is the essence of mindfulness, not silencing the mind, but seeing it clearly without being possessed by it. Here's a practice to try. The next time fear or worry grips you, pause and reframe. Say quietly to yourself, fear is present. Breathe. Watch the sensation in the body. Let it rise and fall on its own. Remind yourself, the sky does not panic when clouds gather. It remains wide, open, unshaken, and so can you. The freedom you've been seeking isn't about controlling every thought. It's about remembering that you were never the thought in the first place. You are the awareness that sees it. And once you return to that vantage point, the storm may still come and go. But the sky, your true nature, remains vast, steady, and free. Lesson 5: The discipline of doing less, but deeper. Exhaustion in modern life rarely comes from sheer volume of work. It comes from scattering ourselves across tasks that never touch what really matters. We trade our limited hours for emails we don't care about, conversations that drain us, endless errands that give the illusion of productivity but leave us feeling hollow. It's not that we're too busy, it's that too much of what we're busy with is meaningless. Buddhism has always warned against this. The Buddha taught that 1,000 hollow words are not worth a single word that brings peace. The same principle applies to our days. A dozen half-hearted actions cannot equal the depth of one action done with full presence. This is the discipline of doing less but doing it with intention. Imagine your life as a bowstring. Every responsibility, every worry, every distraction pulls on that string. If you shoot arrows in every direction, replying here, agreeing there, rushing everywhere. None of them fly far. None of them hit the mark. But when you narrow your aim, when you pull the string for just one arrow with full attention, the impact is precise and powerful. Here's the practice I often suggest. A simple but surprisingly transformative framework I call 3-3-3. 3 important tasks. Choose only 3 things that genuinely matter today. Not 10, not 20, just 3. Finish them with care. 3 intentions. Set 3 qualities you want to embody, perhaps patience, clarity, compassion. Let them guide your tone and actions. 3 minutes of stillness. Carve out just 3 minutes, morning or night, to sit, breathe, and return to yourself. That's it. 3. It sounds small, but it works because it cuts through noise. It forces you to decide what is truly essential. When practiced consistently, you'll find your energy feels less fractured. Your days become fewer in quantity but richer in meaning. Remember, success was never about doing everything. It was about showing up fully to what actually matters. By doing less but going deeper, you reclaim not just your time but your presence. And that presence, that steady, undistracted awareness, is the real measure of a life well lived. Lesson 6: Letting go of inner drama. Most of the suffering that weighs us down doesn't come from reality itself. It comes from the mental screenplays we write and then mistake for truth. A friend takes too long to reply, and instantly the mind directs a full movie. They're angry. I must have done something wrong. Maybe they don't want me in their life anymore. None of this is happening in the real world. It's happening in your head. Yet the body responds as if the fiction were fact. Your chest tightens, your stomach knots, and you begin fighting battles that never existed. This is what the Buddha warned us about. The mind is a storyteller. Left unchecked, it assigns roles, invents plots, and casts you as the one to blame or the one to fix. The actual event may be nothing more than a delayed message, a passing glance, or a busy schedule, but when the story machine spins, it creates drama out of thin air. And if you're not aware, you'll live inside that drama as if it were reality. The insight of Buddhist practice is disarmingly simple. You don't have to believe every thought. You don't even have to respond to every feeling. You can step back, as if sitting in a theater, and realize, this is just a film my mind is projecting. That shift, seeing thought as a mental event rather than a solid truth, creates space. And in that space, peace reappears. Here's the practice. The next time you feel caught in an obsessive loop, pause and ask yourself, is this real, or is this just a movie my mind is making? Name it clearly. Here is a worry story. Here is a fear script. By labeling it, you separate the raw fact from the mental fiction. You realize the drama only lives if you keep giving it energy. Notice how quickly these mental movies lose their power when you stop feeding them. A delayed reply becomes just that, a delayed reply. A glance becomes just a glance. Without your narrative, they dissolve back into neutral events. Letting go of inner drama doesn't mean you suppress emotion or deny reality. It means you reclaim the role of the quiet witness instead of the frantic actor. You no longer need to perform inside every script the mind invents. You can choose stillness over storyline. And this is where freedom lives, not in controlling the mind's productions, but in refusing to confuse the play with the truth. You are not the script. You are the one watching it unfold. Lesson 7: Staying open when it hurts. Our first instinct when pain strikes is almost always to close. We tighten the chest, shut down the heart, build walls around ourselves and call it protection. And in the moment, it feels logical. If something hurts, surely guarding ourselves will keep us safe. But here is the paradox. The more we close, the more we suffer. The walls that we think are keeping pain out are actually locking it in, recycling the same emotions until they become cages. Buddhist teaching is clear on this point. Suffering is born not simply from pain itself, but from clinging, from our refusal to let pain move through us. When the Buddha spoke of dukkha, he wasn't denying that life contains wounds. He was pointing to the way we hold those wounds, the way we grip the story around them, the way we identify with them as me and mine. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is what happens when we resist it. Think back to the last time you felt deeply hurt, not physically, but emotionally. Maybe a betrayal, a disappointment, or simply the loneliness of not being seen. Chances are, you closed, you pulled back from others, numbed yourself, or pretended you didn't care. That's human, but that reflex, if left unchecked, calcifies into long-term suffering. The heart that stays locked doesn't heal, it hardens. Here's the counterintuitive wisdom. Opening in the midst of pain isn't weakness, it's intelligence. To breathe with the ache rather than against it signals to the nervous system, I am safe enough to feel this. Instead of turning hurt into identity, you allow it to flow, to complete its cycle. This is how pain passes through instead of taking root. Try this small practice when sorrow or tightness visits. Place your hand gently on your chest. Close your eyes, and take 3 slow breaths. Then ask yourself softly, where am I closing right now? Is it in the shoulders that are braced? The heart that feels shut? The mind that insists, never again? With each breath, invite just a little loosening. You don't have to fling the doors wide, just crack the window. Even the smallest opening lets light in. This isn't about tolerating abuse or inviting harm. Boundaries remain essential, but there is a profound difference between wise boundaries and unconscious walls. One keeps you safe, the other keeps you trapped. The practice of staying open is about refusing to let fear, shame, or grief dictate the size of your heart. A flower doesn't bloom by avoiding storms. It blooms because it allows the rain to touch it. In the same way, your soul expands not by escaping pain, but by letting pain soften you into something larger. And that expansion, that quiet courage to stay human even when it hurts, is where freedom begins. Lesson 8: Cutting the rope of expectations. If you pay attention, you'll notice that some of your deepest disappointments don't actually come from what happened. They come from what you thought should have happened. A friend forgets to call. And the sting isn't in the silence itself, it's in the quiet story. They should have remembered me. A project falls through. And the pain isn't just the loss, it's the script. It should have worked out differently. Expectations are polished forms of attachment, and they often strangle our peace more than reality ever could. Buddhist teaching is uncompromising here. Attachment to how things must be is one of the roots of suffering. The Buddha called this upadana, the clinging that binds us to dissatisfaction. Life itself is unscripted, untamed, and constantly shifting, but when we try to force it to match our internal script, we create a rope of tension that pulls tighter with every unmet demand. Picture yourself standing on the edge of a cliff, holding a rope. On the other end of that rope is a heavy stone labeled, "How life is supposed to be." Your hands are raw, your arms ache, but you keep gripping tighter, telling yourself that if you just don't let go, it will hurt less. In truth, the pain only grows until you release. The moment you drop the rope, the weight doesn't vanish, but you are free of it. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean lowering your standards or giving up on growth. It means accepting that reality is not obligated to meet your personal storyline. Freedom comes not from bending life to your will, but from meeting life as it is. Here's a simple daily practice. Write down one expectation you're carrying and end with this sentence: "This moment is enough." Maybe it's the expectation that others should understand you without words, that your career should have advanced faster, or that your partner should always respond perfectly. Naming it and declaring the present moment, enough, loosens the rope one thread at a time. The great paradox is that when you stop demanding perfection, life becomes lighter, relationships grow softer, and you actually enjoy what's already here. The rope that was cutting into your hands has been released, and suddenly you can open them, to rest, to receive, to simply be. True peace is never found in the world bending to your script. It's found the moment you stop insisting on a script at all. Lesson 9: Reclaiming your attention. Attention is not just something you have. It is a force. It is like light. Wherever you shine it, that place grows. Shine it on your fears, and they swell. Shine it on comparisons, and envy deepens. Shine it on the noise of the world, news, gossip, notifications, and that noise will take over your inner landscape. But if you learn to shine it inward, toward presence and awareness, your peace begins to expand. The Buddha once said, "What you think, you become." Modern psychology echoes this truth. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of what you repeatedly pay attention to. The tragedy of our age is that we've let corporations, algorithms, and endless alerts decide what gets our focus. Without even realizing it, most people give away the most sacred thing they have, their awareness, to the highest bidder. Think about the very first 5 minutes of your day. For so many of us, the hand reaches for the phone before the lungs take a full breath. Before your own voice can greet you, 100 other voices are already shouting. Messages, updates, news. You are pulled into everyone else's agenda before you've even asked, "What matters most to me today?" That isn't freedom, it's surrender. Buddhist mindfulness training offers a way back, reclaiming attention as a deliberate act. This isn't about controlling every thought, but about repeatedly bringing your awareness home. Just as a muscle grows stronger with training, attention strengthens when exercised with intention. Here's a simple but powerful practice. Tomorrow morning, resist the urge to grab your phone. Instead, spend 5 quiet minutes breathing. Feel the body. Notice the air moving in and out. Then set one intention for the day, not 10 tasks. Not a full plan, just one guiding presence. Today I will practice patience. Or, today I will listen more deeply. By doing this, you've already chosen where your light will shine. Do this consistently and you'll notice something profound. The world doesn't suddenly get quieter. But its noise no longer controls you. You stop scattering your awareness across 1,000 meaningless things. And you begin to live from a place of steadiness. Reclaiming attention is one of the most radical acts in a distracted age. Because when you decide what to focus on, you are no longer at the mercy of life, you are shaping it. And that, more than anything else, is where true peace begins. And so we return to the heart of the teaching. You are not the storm. You are the sky. You don't need to control every cloud, silence every thunder, or predict every shift in the wind. Peace doesn't come from bending the world to your will. It comes from choosing, moment by moment, where you place your attention. The Buddha reminded us that liberation is not found in grasping but in releasing. Each expectation you let go of, each rope you loosen, clears space for stillness. Imagine if today, just one burden you've been carrying, the need to always be understood, the demand that life be perfect, the fear of being less than enough, was set down. How light would your steps feel? Here on Dharma Veins, we walk this journey together. If this message touched you, let it ripple further. Subscribe, share, and help us build a community of clarity in a world that often feels chaotic. And let us take a moment, in silence and sincerity, to send a prayer of compassion outward. May all beings, near and far, who are enduring suffering from disasters, wars, or personal struggles, be met with the gentle light of peace. May the wisdom of the Buddha guide them through their storms, reminding them that within each of us lies the vast sky of awareness, unshaken, unbroken, always free. Now I'd love to hear from you. If you could let go of just one expectation today, what would it be? Share it in the comments. Your answer might be the very lantern someone else needs to see their way forward. Until we meet again, remember, you are not the storm. You are the sky.